I'm Willa Crane, 24, a first-year elementary school teacher in South Bend, Indiana. At midnight, my world shattered. A baseball bat swung hard, crashing into the back of my neck. I collapsed, pain exploding through me, my vision blurring. My brother stood over me, his silhouette gripping the bat, eyes glinting with something dark. I tried to scream, but my voice choked. With trembling hands, I grabbed my phone, typing a desperate SOS to my best friend. He hit me. "Call 911. Before I could hit send again, my mother and father burst in. I thought they'd save me. Instead, my mother laughed coldly. "Stop overreacting. He's just playing." My father smirked, adding, "Go back to sleep. Don't be dramatic." They snatched my phone, its screen still glowing with my unsent plea. I clawed at the floor, fighting to stay conscious, but their voices faded into a chilling whisper. "Handle it fast. No traces." This wasn't a prank. My own family, the people I lived with, were hiding something sinister. My head throbbed, but one thought burned clear: I had to survive. I had to expose them. As I slipped toward darkness, I clung to that resolve, knowing the truth would unravel in ways I couldn't yet imagine. Have you ever been betrayed by those closest to you? Drop a comment with your story and hit subscribe to follow mine. The fight for justice starts here, and you won't believe what comes next. The next morning, I woke on the cold garage floor. My neck ached, a heavy pulse reminding me I was still alive. As I lay there, unable to move at first, memories surged back, painting a picture of why I'd always been a stranger in my own home. At 24, I lived with my family in South Bend to save money. My teaching job at the local elementary school barely covered my student loans, so moving out wasn't an option. But staying came with a price. My mother, Nova Crane, and my father, Ulysses Crane, poured their attention on my brother, Tate Crane. At 19, a college freshman, Tate could skip classes or wreck his car, and they'd just laugh. "He's figuring it out," Nova would say, her voice warm for him. For me, it was different. If I forgot to unload the dishwasher or stayed late grading papers, Ulysses would scold me. "Get it together." "Willa," he'd snap, his eyes cold. The divide started years ago, rooted in small moments I didn't see coming. My grandma, Margaret Crane, was my escape. As a teenager, I'd bike to her house near Notre Dame, where we'd read mystery novels or tend her rose garden. "You've got her spirit," she'd tell me, her smile soft. Tate never cared to visit. He'd scoff, calling her that old lady when her name came up. Grandma noticed. She saw his charm was shallow, his temper quick. When Grandma died 3 years ago, her will changed everything. She left me $800,000 to be received on my 25th birthday because I'd been there for her, bringing her tea, listening to her stories. The trust was locked until I turned 25, just a year away now. That money split our family apart. Tate's resentment grew sharp. At dinners, he'd glare when anyone praised my teaching. One evening, he tripped and sent my camera crashing to the floor, its lens shattered. "My bad," he said, his smirk betraying him. Another time, my laptop stopped working after he used it. The screen cracked. Nova brushed it off. "Accidents happen, Willa," she said, her tone flat. Ulysses just nodded, avoiding my gaze. Their favoritism wasn't new, but the will made it worse. Nova started mentioning the money more often. That inheritance could fix things, she'd say over breakfast, her eyes flicking to me. Ulysses, always tinkering with his computer, would hum in agreement. I overheard them arguing late at night about unpaid bills, their voices tense through the walls. They were drowning in debt, and I was starting to feel like a means to an end. Tate took it further. "Why her?" he hissed one night, cornering me in the hallway. "You don't deserve it." His words cut deep. He was my brother, but we were never close. His pranks escalated, hiding my lesson plans, pouring coffee on my books. Each time, Nova and Ulysses defended him. "He's under pressure," Ulysses said, shrugging. "Teaching was my lifeline. My students' eager faces gave me purpose, a reason to keep going. But at home, I was invisible. Tate's actions grew bolder and my parents' excuses weaker. One afternoon, I found my car keys missing, forcing me to miss a parent-teacher meeting. Tate grinned when I confronted him. "Chill, Willa," he said, tossing them back. Nova overheard and sighed. "Don't make a scene," she told me. That night, I caught her whispering to Ulysses in the living room. "That money could save us," she said, her voice low. "She doesn't need it." Ulysses murmured back, agreeing. My stomach churned. They weren't just protecting Tate, they were planning something. The garage's chill brought me back. Those memories made it clear Tate's jealousy and my parents' desperation had been simmering for years. With my 25th birthday looming, they were running out of time. I wasn't just their daughter. I was an obstacle. I had to escape, uncover their plan, and protect what Grandma gave me. Days before I'd been trying to focus on teaching. My classroom was my sanctuary where I could pour my energy into lesson plans and my students' bright questions. But tension at home bled into everything, pulling me apart. The week of my parents' anniversary party, it all boiled over. As a first-year teacher in South Bend, I was still finding my footing. My days were spent crafting activities for my third graders, hoping to spark their curiosity. I'd stay late at school, tweaking handouts or grading papers, anything to avoid the strain waiting at home. But I couldn't skip the party. Nova and Ulysses had been planning it for weeks, a big event to celebrate their 25 years together. They'd invited neighbors, coworkers, even distant cousins. I dreaded it, knowing Tate would find a way to make me miserable. The night of the party, I arrived home with my folder of lesson plans ready to finalize them after the guests left. The house buzzed with chatter and clinking glasses. I forced a smile greeting people, but Tate was already in his element, charming everyone with his easy grin. He caught my eye and smirked like he knew something I didn't. I ignored him, setting my folder on the kitchen counter out of the way. I just wanted to get through the evening. Halfway through, I stepped away to check on my work. My heart sank. My folder was open pages, scattered, some crumpled, others stained with punch. My carefully drawn diagrams for a science unit were ruined, ink smudged beyond saving. I knew instantly who did it. I found Tate by the dessert table, laughing with a neighbor. "Did you touch my folder?" I asked, keeping my voice low. He shrugged, his eyes glinting. "Maybe it fell," he said, popping a cookie in his mouth. His casual dismissal burned me. I gathered the damaged pages, my hands shaking. Months of work gone. I confronted Nova, who was refilling drinks. "Tate ruined my lesson plans," I said, holding up the evidence. She barely glanced at them. "Don't start drama tonight, Willa," she snapped. "It's our anniversary." I stared, stunned. "This took weeks to prepare," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Make new ones. You're good at that." Her words stung, but worse was her next jab. "Maybe if you weren't so focused on yourself, you'd see we're all struggling. That money from your grandma could help." Her mention of Grandma's will hit hard. Margaret had left me $800,000 to be received on my 25th birthday, just a year away. Nova rarely spoke of it directly, but now her tone was sharp, almost accusing. "She always favored you." Nova added her voice low so others wouldn't hear. "It's not fair to the rest of us." I froze, the room's noise fading. Ulysses appeared, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" he asked. I showed him the ruined pages. "Tate did this," I said. He sighed, glancing at Nova. "Kids make mistakes, Willa. Let it go." Their dismissal was a punch to the gut. Tate overheard and sauntered over, his expression smug. "You're too sensitive," he said, loud enough for guests to turn. "Always playing the victim." My face burned with humiliation. I wanted to scream that he'd crossed a line, but the crowd's eyes stopped me. I retreated to my room, clutching the ruined plans, my anger mixing with hurt. Nova's words about the inheritance echoed. She wasn't just defending Tate, she was resentful. The money wasn't just a gift. It was a wedge driving us further apart. Later, I overheard Tate talking to a cousin in the hallway. "She thinks she's better than us," he said, his voice bitter. That money should be ours. His words confirmed what I'd feared. My own brother saw me as a rival. The party continued, laughter filling the house, but I felt more alone than ever. Nova and Ulysses didn't care about my work or my pain. They were fixated on something else, something tied to that inheritance. I didn't know their full plan, but the pieces were starting to fit. After the anniversary party, Tate's venomous words and Nova's cold accusations left me shaken. I went to bed uneasy, sensing danger closing in. At midnight, my brother Tate swung a baseball bat, striking the back of my neck. I collapsed, pain tearing through me. In a desperate blur, I sent an SOS to my emergency contacts. As I faded, my parents' laughter cut through. "Don't overdo it," my mother Nova said. "He's just playing." Their mockery stung as darkness swallowed me. I woke in the garage, locked inside. My neck throbbed, but fear kept me sharp. The door was bolted, trapping me in the cold, cluttered space. Through the wall, I heard Nova and Ulysses in the kitchen, their voices low and tense. I pressed my ear to the concrete, catching their chilling scheme. "We've got 1 year before she turns 25, Nova hissed. "That money's our only way out." Ulysses replied, his tone grim. "I'll edit the security footage. We'll say Willa attacked Tate. The trust's clause will give us the money." My heart pounded. They were plotting to frame me for assaulting Tate to steal the $800,000 Grandma left me due on my 25th birthday. Their words confirmed my fears. Tate's attack was no accident. It was their opening move. I pulled back, my mind racing. Their plan explained Nova's resentment, Tate's hostility. They saw me as a barrier to the inheritance. I needed proof to fight back. The garage was a mess of boxes and junk, but there had to be something to expose them. I started searching, determined to find evidence before their lies buried me. I crawled to the shelves, pain stabbing my neck. My hands sifted through dusty clutter until I spotted an old laptop half buried under a pile of tools. Hope surged through me, a spark of salvation. It was an outdated model, probably forgotten, but it might still work. I powered it on, praying it wasn't dead. The screen flickered to life, and I noticed it was linked to our home's security system. My pulse raced. If the cameras caught Tate's attack, and Nova and Ulysses hadn't erased the footage yet, I had a chance. I accessed the system, my fingers trembling. The footage from that night was still there, time-stamped just after midnight. I clicked play, my breath catching. The video showed our living room stark and clear. Tate stood over me, bat raised, his face twisted with rage. He swung and I crumpled, clutching my neck. My voice gasped a plea before Nova and Ulysses appeared. "Move her, now!" Nova said, her tone icy. Ulysses nodded. "Keep it quiet." The footage ended. Triumph coursed through me. They hadn't deleted it, pure luck. I saved the video to a blank USB I found nearby, my hands shaking with excitement. I kept digging on the laptop, checking its files. An email client was open, logged into an old account. There was a message from Grandma's lawyer sent months before she passed, with an attached document, her will. I opened it, my heart pounding. It read, "To Willa Crane. $800,000 unstolen dollars at age 25 for her loyalty and care." It detailed my time with her, cooking, talking, gardening, while Nova and Tate stayed distant. Then I saw the clause that chilled me to the bone. If I were convicted of a violent crime such as assault, the entire inheritance would transfer to Nova. Grandma had added this to ensure the heir was morally worthy, but it handed Nova and Ulysses the perfect weapon. They planned to frame me for attacking Tate, triggering the clause to seize the money. The realization hit hard. Their scheme was calculated, ruthless, and now crystal clear. I saved the document to the USB, joy flaring in my chest. This was my lifeline, hard evidence to clear my name. I gripped the USB, my resolve hardening. I could expose them, but I was still trapped. The garage door's lock was solid, but I spotted a rusty screwdriver on a workbench. I jammed it into the hinge, twisting until the pins loosened. The door cracked open just enough to slip through. I tucked the USB into my jacket, knowing it was my only defense. Nova and Ulysses were still in the kitchen plotting. The police will believe Tate, Ulysses said. She's got nothing. I crept upstairs, my heart racing. My room felt like a trap, but I needed a plan. I hid the USB under my mattress, praying it would stay safe. I had to reach Quinn or Aunt Lana, someone who'd believe me. Nova's voice drifted up. Check the garage soon, she said. She can't talk. Time was running out. I held the truth, but their lies were closing in. I had to act fast to protect the inheritance and clear my name. By morning, I broke free from the garage. My heart raced as I slipped through the cracked door, the USB tucked safely in my jacket. I sprinted across the yard to the neighbor's house, my breath ragged. The sun was barely up, casting long shadows over the quiet South Bend street. I knocked on the Millers' door, praying they were awake. Mrs. Miller, a kind woman in her 60s, answered, her eyes widening at my bruised neck and panicked expression. "Willa, what's wrong?" she asked, pulling me inside. I stammered. "I need to call 911. My family, they're trying to frame me." She handed me her phone without hesitation. I dialed, my voice shaking as I told the operator about Tate's attack and the plot to steal my inheritance. "I have proof," I said, clutching the USB. "Please send someone fast." The operator promised officers would arrive soon. I thanked Mrs. Miller, who offered me tea, but I couldn't sit still. My mind churned with what came next. Minutes later, sirens wailed. 2 officers, a man and a woman, arrived at the Millers' door. I explained the attack, my voice steady despite the fear. "My brother Tate hit me with a bat last night. My parents, Nova and Ulysses, locked me in the garage. They're planning to frame me for attacking him to take my inheritance. $800,000, I'm due at 25. The male officer, Officer Daniels, raised an eyebrow. "That's a serious accusation." "Got any evidence?" I held up the USB. "This has a video of Tate attacking me and the will showing their motive." Before they could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I'd grabbed it before escaping. A text from an unknown number read, "You attacked Tate. We have proof. Turn yourself in." My stomach dropped. Attached was a grainy video clip showing me swinging a bat at Tate, his body crumpling. My hands shook. It was fake. Ulysses must have edited the security footage just as he'd planned. Another text followed, supposedly from me to Tate. "I'm done with you. You're dead tonight." I stared, horrified. They'd fabricated messages to make me look guilty. The officers watched me closely. "That's not me," I said, my voice cracking. "They're setting me up." I handed Officer Daniels the USB, urging him to check it first. "The real footage is here," I said. "It shows Tate attacking me and my parents covering it up." The female officer, Officer Lee, took the USB and plugged it into a portable device. The video played clear, unedited, showing Tate raising the bat, striking me down, and Nova and Ulysses dragging me away. "Move her now," Nova's voice echoed. The officers exchanged glances. "This looks legit," Lee said, "but we'll need to verify both videos." I pulled up the will file from the USB on their device. It detailed Grandma's bequest, $800,000 to me at 25 for my loyalty, cooking, talking, gardening with her, while Nova and Tate stayed distant. The critical clause made my blood run cold. If I were convicted of a violent crime, like assault, the entire sum would pass to Nova. Grandma had included this to ensure the heir was morally upright, a safeguard rooted in her distrust of Nova's greed. But it gave my parents a perfect opening. They'd staged Tate's attack, faked evidence, and planned to pin it on me to trigger the clause. The realization hit like ice. Their betrayal was deeper than I'd imagined, a calculated move to rob me of everything. Officer Daniels nodded. "We'll take this to the station for analysis. The edited video and texts are concerning, but your evidence is strong." I exhaled, relief mixing with dread. "They're still at the house," I said. "They don't know I'm here." Lee radioed for backup, saying they'd question Nova, Ulysses, and Tate. I felt a flicker of hope, but it was fragile. Their lies were convincing, and I was still the target. Mrs. Miller offered to let me stay until the police sorted things out. I thanked her but knew I couldn't hide forever. I needed to contact Aunt Lana. She'd always believed in me. I borrowed Mrs. Miller's phone again and dialed Lana's number. "Willa," she answered, her voice thick with worry. "Your SOS last night, what happened?" I explained everything: Tate's attack, the garage, the plot, the USB. "I'm with the police now," I said. "I have proof, but they're framing me." Lana promised to drive down from Chicago immediately. "Stay safe," she urged. "Don't go back to that house." As I hung up, Officer Lee returned. "We're heading to your house now," she said. "Stay here with Mrs. Miller. We'll need your statement later." I nodded, gripping my jacket where the USB had been. It was my shield, but the fight wasn't over. Nova and Ulysses were cunning, and Tate's rage was unpredictable. I had to stay sharp to protect Grandma's legacy and my freedom. A week later, I faced the jury in St. Joseph County Court. My heart pounded as I stood in the witness box, the USB in my pocket, a heavy anchor. The courtroom was silent, eyes fixed on me. My best friend Lana, a lawyer who'd driven from Chicago, sat at the defense table, her steady gaze giving me strength. I was ready to expose the truth. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Ms. Carter, called me to testify. I took a deep breath and began. "My brother Tate attacked me with a baseball bat," I said, my voice clear. "My parents, Nova and Ulysses, covered it up to frame me for assault. They wanted my inheritance, $800,000 due when I turned 25. I explained the night of the attack how I'd sent an SOS to my emergency contacts and how my parents mocked me, calling it a joke. The jury listened, some scribbling notes. I handed the USB to Lana, who presented it to the court. "This contains security footage," I said. "It shows Tate striking me and my parents, dragging me to the garage." The judge nodded and a screen was set up. The video played Tate's rage-filled face, the bat swinging, my body crumpling. Nova's cold voice cut through. "Move her now." Ulysses muttered, "Keep it quiet." Gasps rippled through the jury. Lana paused the video, pointing out the timestamp and clarity. "This is unedited," she said. "Forensic analysis confirms it." Next, I introduced my SOS records. "I sent this signal at midnight," I said, showing phone logs time-stamped just before I lost consciousness. The logs listed Lana and my aunt as recipients, proving I'd sought help. Lana corroborated this, explaining she received the alert and called me the next morning, learning of the plot. I pulled out my journal, a small notebook I'd kept for months. "This documents their hostility," I said, flipping to entries describing Tate's aggression and my parents' dismissal of my fears. One entry, dated weeks before, read, "Nova mentioned the will again. She's obsessed with the money." Another noted Tate's threats after I refused to lend him cash. The judge examined the pages, her expression unreadable. Lana spoke up. "These entries align with the timeline of the attack and the scheme to steal Willa's inheritance." Ms. Carter presented the prosecution's case, claiming I'd attacked Tate. She showed their fake video, me swinging a bat at him, his body falling. "This is fabricated," I said, my voice steady. "My father Ulysses admitted he'd edit footage to frame me." Lana backed me up, citing a forensic report that exposed digital tampering in their video. The jury's faces hardened, sensing the lie. I explained the inheritance. "My grandmother Margaret left me $800,000 because I cared for her cooking, talking, gardening, while my parents and Tate stayed distant." I displayed the will from the USB, highlighting the clause. If I were convicted of a violent crime like assault, the money would pass to Nova. "My grandmother added this to ensure the heir was morally sound," I said. "She distrusted Nova's greed. My parents used this clause to frame me, staging Tate's attack to trigger it." The jury leaned forward, absorbing the motive. Lana took the floor, her voice commanding. "The evidence is clear," she said. "The unedited video, SOS logs, and journal confirm Willa's account. The prosecution's video is manipulated, and their texts claiming Willa threatened Tate are from a burner phone, not hers." She presented a police report tracing the texts to Ulysses. The courtroom buzzed. Lana's expertise shone dismantling their lies. The judge called a recess to review the evidence. I sat with Lana, my nerves fraying. "You did great," she whispered. "They can't ignore this." I nodded, gripping her hand. The USB SOS and journal were my shield, but doubt lingered. My family's deception ran deep, and I feared they'd slip away. When court resumed, Officer Daniels, who'd responded to my 911 call, testified. "Willa's evidence matches what she told us," he said. "The fake video and texts were traced to Ulysses's devices." The jury's eyes narrowed. Ms. Carter tried to argue, but her case crumbled under the weight of Lana's cross-examination. The judge delivered her ruling. "Based on the evidence, there's probable cause to charge Nova Crane, Ulysses Crane, and Tate Crane with assault and fraud." Officers moved in, handcuffing my parents and brother. Nova's face twisted in fury. Ulysses stared blankly, and Tate muttered curses. I exhaled, relief washing over me. Their plan to steal my grandmother's legacy had failed. As they were led away, Lana squeezed my shoulder. "You're free," she said. I felt lighter, but the fight wasn't over. The inheritance was safe for now, but I had to stay vigilant until I turned 25. Justice was close, and I wouldn't let it slip away. 2 weeks later, my mother's online attacks began. Nova, out on bail, unleashed a torrent of posts on social media branding me unstable. Her words stung like venom. "Willa Crane has mental issues," she wrote on a public forum, claiming I'd fabricated the assault to ruin the family. The lies spread fast, twisting my reality. I woke to a flood of notifications. Friends from high school unfollowed me. Neighbors I'd known for years sent cold messages. "Is it true? You're unhinged?" My inbox filled with accusations from strangers echoing Nova's claims. At the grocery store, Mrs. Larson, who'd once baked me cookies, turned away when I waved. The weight of isolation pressed harder than ever. I scrolled through Nova's posts, each one a dagger. She painted me as a delusional liar, desperate for my grandmother's $800,000 inheritance due when I turned 25. I was 24 with 1 year left to endure this nightmare. At school, the fallout hit harder. I taught history at South Bend High, where I'd poured my heart into lessons. On Monday, Principal Andrews called me to his office. His face was grim. "Willa, parents are complaining," he said. "They're worried about your stability after those posts." I clenched my fists, explaining Nova's lies and the court case. He sighed. "I believe you, but we have to suspend you pending an investigation." My stomach dropped. Teaching was my anchor, and now it was gone. I left his office, my cheeks burning with shame, though I'd done nothing wrong. Back home, I sat on my couch staring at my phone. Lana called, her voice sharp with anger. "Nova's trying to destroy your reputation," she said. "We can sue for defamation, but it'll take time." I appreciated her fire, but time wasn't on my side. The inheritance loomed a beacon of freedom, but Nova's attacks threatened to bury me first. I couldn't stay in South Bend, where every glance felt like a judgment. I needed to escape, to rebuild where no one knew my name. I opened my laptop and searched for teaching jobs far from Indiana. Chicago caught my eye, Lana's city with its sprawling schools and fresh start. I found a posting for a history teacher at a public high school. The application asked for a resume and a cover letter. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the keys. Could I leave my grandmother's legacy behind? Margaret had trusted me to protect her gift, but staying meant fighting a war I wasn't sure I could win. I started typing, pouring my passion for teaching into the letter. I aimed to inspire students with stories of resilience, I wrote, thinking of my own battle. As I worked, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You'll never get that money," it read. My pulse raced. It had to be Nova using a new number to taunt me. I forwarded it to Lana, who promised to trace it. "She's desperate," Lana said. "This proves she's scared." I nodded, though fear gnawed at me. Nova's lies had already cost me my job and my community. What else could she take? I walked to the library, avoiding prying eyes. There, I printed my application and researched apartments in Chicago. A small studio near the school seemed affordable. I imagined a new life, new students, new streets, no whispers about my sanity. But doubt crept in. Leaving felt like letting Nova win, like abandoning my grandmother's trust. I clutched the printed pages torn between staying to fight and fleeing to heal. That evening, I met Lana at a diner. She slid a legal pad across the table outlining a defamation case. Nova's posts are provably false, she said. We can use the court evidence to shut her down. I sipped my coffee, weighing the option. A lawsuit could clear my name, but it would chain me to South Bend to this toxic fight. I wanted peace, not more battles. I'm thinking of leaving, I admitted. Lana's eyes softened. I get it, she said. But wherever you go, I'll back you. Her support steadied me, a reminder I wasn't alone. By midnight, I'd made my choice. I submitted the Chicago application, my heart pounding with resolve. South Bend held too many scars: Nova's lies, Tate's violence, Ulysses' silence. The inheritance was my future, but I couldn't wait for it in a town that no longer felt like home. I packed a small bag ready to visit Chicago for an interview. A new chapter waited, and I'd write it on my terms. A year later, I rebuilt my life in Indianapolis. The city's energy felt like a fresh breath after South Bend's suffocating whispers. I stood in my new classroom at Lincoln High, writing lesson plans, my heart steady with purpose. At 25, I'd claimed my grandmother's $800,000 inheritance, and with it, a chance to redefine my future. The truth had prevailed. Lana's defamation lawsuit against my mother Nova concluded months ago. A judge ruled Nova's online claims, calling me mentally unstable, were false, ordering her to retract them. The ruling spread across local news, clearing my name. Colleagues at Lincoln High welcomed me without judgment, unaware of my past unless I chose to share it. The school board in South Bend sent a formal apology reinstating my teaching license, but I declined to return. Indianapolis was home now, a place where I could stand tall. I used part of the inheritance to establish the Margaret Crane Scholarship Fund. Named for my grandmother, it supported high school students pursuing history degrees, her favorite subject. At the fund's launch, I stood before a small crowd of educators and students, my voice steady. "This is for students who seek truth," I said, picturing Margaret's warm smile. She taught me to value knowledge over greed. The first recipient, a shy senior named Emma, thanked me with tears in her eyes. Her dream was to study ancient civilizations, and the scholarship would cover her tuition. Seeing her hope mirrored my own, a reminder of why I'd fought so hard. Lana flew in for the event, her presence a quiet strength. Over coffee afterward, she updated me on my family. Nova faced jail time for fraud, her appeals exhausted. My brother Tate and my father Ulysses were serving sentences for their roles in the assault. I nodded, feeling no anger, only distance. They'd chosen their path, and I'd chosen mine. Lana squeezed my hand. "You've built something real," she said. I smiled, grateful for her loyalty, a bond stronger than blood. Teaching became my refuge. My students, a mix of curious and restless teens, challenged me daily. I crafted lessons on revolutions, drawing parallels to my own fight for justice. One day, a student named Malik raised his hand. "How do you know what's true when people lie?" he asked. I paused, thinking of Nova's posts, Tate's violence, Ulysses's silence. "You dig for evidence," I answered. "And you trust those who stand by you." Malik nodded, scribbling in his notebook. Moments like these felt like victories, small but profound. The inheritance gave me stability, but I lived modestly. My apartment, a cozy one-bedroom near the school, held simple furniture and bookshelves packed with history texts. I donated a portion of the funds to a local women's shelter, remembering my own moments of fear. The rest secured my future, a safety net Margaret had intended. I often thought of her, her stories, her garden, her trust in me. She'd seen my strength when I doubted it myself. One evening, I received an email from Principal Andrews, my old boss in South Bend. He congratulated me on the scholarship fund, admitting he'd misjudged me under pressure. "You're doing great things," he wrote. I replied with thanks, but no nostalgia. South Bend was a chapter closed, its scars fading. I'd learned that family wasn't just blood, it was the people who chose you. Lana, my students, even Emma were my family now. Reflecting on my journey, I saw justice as more than a courtroom win. It was the courage to face lies, to stand alone when the world turned away. The truth wasn't always loud, but it endured. Nova's accusations had crumbled under scrutiny, just as Margaret's faith in me had held firm. I'd fought not just for the inheritance, but for my right to define myself. That was the real victory. On weekends, I volunteered at a community center teaching history workshops. One session, I shared a story about a woman who overcame betrayal to build a legacy. The teens listened, eyes wide, unaware I was speaking of myself. "What's the lesson?" a girl asked. I smiled. "Truth is your compass," I said. "And family is who lifts you up, not who tears you down." They nodded, and I felt Margaret's spirit in the room guiding me still. As I locked my classroom one evening, my phone buzzed. Lana had sent a photo of us at the scholarship launch, both smiling. "Proud of you," she wrote. I saved the picture, my heart full. The past year,